You know what? Here I am on mute for 2 minutes straight. Mark, everyone. Now we back in business. The people can hear me. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna recap what I was saying for these last 2 minutes because we here now. All right, everybody. But welcome to the Systems Lab Live. I'm excited to be here tonight. If you uh, joined us on Monday, we were joined by Jonathan Jones, the very first guest of Systems Lab Live, the very first guest that I had. And it was phenomenal because we broke down podcast workflows. It was phenomenal. Got an inside look into how Jonathan Jones goes about coaching people in his mastermind. So, shout out to him. Shout out to him really building out this craft. I mean, he's been doing podcasting for years before we were even all on our what's a podcast and what podcast are you listening to. He was already on it like years back. So watch that replay. It's really interesting. It's a great interview, and he walks through favorite apps, walks us through some of his process. And again, the Systems Lab Live is made for everyday conversations around people and outcomes, especially for my founders and my small business owners, those that are in the tech space, those that are in digital marketing. This is the place for y'all to hang out and really get the information about how you can build the necessary processes in your business successful. So today we are going to apply what we've learned in these past couple of days in terms of the podcasting workflow. And what we're going to do is we are going to go into ClickUp and we are going to see in real time what a podcasting workflow looks like. But first and foremost, I am going to bring up Whimsical. Next week, we'll have our app of the week, which will be really exciting. I want to test something out before I show it to you guys. Okay. Podcasting. Shout out to Black and Bold. Can you see it? I think you can. Maybe not. Hold on. Let me see if I know it. Shout out to Black and Bold, an awesome company. Again, tea. Tea is where it's at. Decaffeinated tea because Earl Grey is my favorite. By the way, Earl Grey is my favorite tea. Then is Irish breakfast tea. All of the black teas, pretty much. Those are my top. And then African sunset tea is an herbal tea. Caffeine. It's caffeine decaffeinated. There you go. And it's one of my favorites. But I just wanted to shout out the Black and Bold brand. Has great Earl Grey tea, chamomile tea, and it's great. So I just wanted to plug that right quick. So we're gonna go into Whimsical. You know, in terms of tools that you should have in your toolkit, definitely have Whimsical. It's a flow charting software. I'm going to bring up. Well, I guess I could look at my podcasting workflow. I feel like YouTube. Oh. Okay. We are going to bring this up. I think I have two that I want to show you. Chelsea of 3. What's up? How are y'all doing? Feel free to join on YouTube if you'd like to. Systems Lab Live. We're talking about podcasting workflows. So let's look at this. Okay, this is more of, show and tell vibes. Y'all, show and tell vibes. What's going on, Mason? Show and tell vibes. Let me get this up here. We're in show and tell with Ask Ash. and we're going to, it's a show and tell and it's a process workflow. So I want to show you something that I did when I was presenting last September for Slay Your Content with Nicole Beatty of Fempreneur Online. And I want to talk with you through you guys what a podcast workflow is. A workflow, as we know through our definition, we know that, a workflow is a series of activities that you are working to achieve a certain particular goal or result. So it's just that step-by-step process. And so when we're talking about podcasting, there are certain steps from going from the idea to the episode planning, to the recording, to the editing, to the launching of the actual podcast, and also the platform itself. Somebody asked me today, Ashley, do you believe in ongoing projects or that projects have to have an end date? And so what I believe, again, the working definition, the true definition of a project is it is a endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. And so if my particular result that I'm looking for is to release podcast episodes, that is what I would call it an ongoing project. So I'm going to give an example to you of podcasting workflows. So podcast workflow, record the content, edit the podcast, use the script to generate transcript. Ooh, excuse me. Pull quotes create show notes, use show notes for IG carousels, review the content for the podcast, and schedule the episode and content. So this is at a very high level, but we should break this down even more. So I would even put here, I'm actually going to, I'm actually going to take this, double click it, and I'm actually going to put this as step 1. And I'm going to say plan episode idea. And that's going to encompass the 3 points, like Jonathan Jones said, the 3 points, the transformative outcome. All right. What's going on, y'all? All right, cool. What's going on, Adam? Let me hide this or move this or click out of this. Okay. So I'm going to scroll in. I'm going to zoom in on this part. And I'm also going to, hold on one second, y'all. I'm actually going to ask the people to join me on YouTube. Join me on YouTube. Link in bio. Adam said, where is Chesco? Oh, I love it. Chesco's probably out here executing. That's probably where Chesco's at. But if you are looking for Chesco and myself and Carlette for that YouTube, for that live thing that we do, the live show, the Instagram live that we do, head back, come back at the end of the month. We'll have information. I think we're going to be on 30th or the 31st, probably the 31st. So that's where we'll be if you're curious. But he's somewhere now. He's probably out here executing, doing what he does best. Okay, yeah. So I put the join me on YouTube. Link is in the bio. We're talking about podcasting workflows. So here we go. Step 1, plan your episode idea. Come away with 3 points, like Jonathan Jones said, and that transformative outcome. Cool? All right. Next up, you record your content. I like that as step 2. Step 2, record the content. Step 3, edit podcast. Now, some people have just let it rip. Like one of my really good friends, she just said, "Hey, I just let that puppy rip," which means she barely does any editing, and she just is like record. She got her points, bloop, and she goes and she posts it. There he is. Child, Adam asked Chesco. He was like, "Where is Chesco?" I said, "Chesco's out here executing." I said, "I'm not sure where he is per se, but we're out here." Chesco, thanks for joining. Thanks Aminata for joining as well, and Claudia, thanks for joining in. We're talking about podcasting workflows, having a process from step to step. So, planning episode idea, that's 3 points. Get your transformative outcome. Secondly, you record the content. As you are recording the content, make sure again that you're hitting your 3 points. Let's see. Editing the podcast is step 3, and you could outsource that or you could do it yourself. There is a program called Descript. I use Descript for all the things for podcasting and for this YouTube show to cut clips, the clips that you see on Instagram, the clips that you see on I just went away on Instagram. I don't know what happened. The clips that you see on Instagram and LinkedIn, they come from Descript. All right. And so the second step is use Descript to generate a transcript. Okay. So that's a way for you to then edit the podcast if you want to. Now, I'm thinking right here that this actually could be a subtask. I'm thinking this is a subtask. I'm going to change the color to the subtask. And then this is like another subtask. I think that makes sense. Step 3. And so I'm going to say this is 3A. And I'm going to say this is 3B. And that gets into repurposing your content. All right. Repurposing the content. Let's see. Create show notes. I'm going to say this is step 4. And I'm going to say this is 4A. Step 4. And then this is step 5. Review the content. And then step 6. Schedule episode content. This is actually pretty fire, if you ask me. This is pretty fire. What's up, Chesco? Yeah. Something happened to my iPhone. It's like on the fritz. But it will get better. I may have to go to the Apple store. Yes, let's look at this workflow, shall we, people? Let's go from the beginning, though, so that we can kind of know what's happening. So plan your episode idea. So what you could do is you could do a approach of batching. So you could literally plan several episodes in one setting. And you could plan several episodes in one setting. From there, then you can record content. So you could definitely, what you can do is plan your episodes. Maybe you do 3 to 4. Like I've done it where I do it like 3 or 4 at a time. And then you go and you record the content, right? You go and record the content. And again, that could absolutely just depending on the situation, you could take an afternoon and record 3 or 4 episodes. So that's always an option, the batching, or you do it weekly. It all depends on your time, really. Yeah, I think all of this is just episode planning and how you can be able to do that. So, yeah, that's what I would, that's exactly what I would think about, right? Like, let's think about your time and make that decision. And am I going to do batch planning, or am I going to do it piece by piece, like episode by episode? So, that is most certainly something that that you're going to want to think about, right? That you're definitely going to want to think about. So make that decision. If you're already thinking about doing a podcast, think about your time, your capacity, what you have capacity for, and are you going to batch episodes, or are you going to do it week by week, but each require planning. Now, something that people are doing in terms of repurposing content is people are using like live shows like this, or other type of content that they're doing, like live workshops, and then chopping it up and literally using it as a podcast. I've seen it most recently with the morning meetup with David Chan's, taking different the morning calls and turning that into a podcast. I've seen Gary V, the audio experience, where he's taking content from conferences and whatnot, and that's a podcast. So, if you are someone who's like, I don't know if I can actually go and put on a podcast with new content and come up with all the ideas, you may be already be out there with a lot of ideas. Some people also are just launching seasonal podcasts for conferences. Excuse me. So Nicole Beatty did that for her Fempreneur online coaches conference. She just did a special podcast season dedicated to the content around her virtual conference. I thought that was genius. I didn't really seen that before. But again, podcasting and the power of audio, I mean, it's unreal. It's unreal. All right, so now the phone is back up, y'all. So let's go. So we went through the first two. All right, so plan your episode idea, have 3 points, have the transformative outcome, record the content, and then step 3 is edit the podcast. Now, when we talked about the editing from before, folks, remember, you got 2 options. You can do it yourself. You can outsource it. Outsourcing might be your cup of tea, so to speak. Outsourcing could be your cup of tea, because you may not want to do all the editing and all the things that go along with it, which I think is fine. I think it all has to make sense for, again, capacity, and then also too, when it comes to the capacity piece, then it's also the budget. And that kind of goes into your planning. That goes into your planning. So your pre-planning, that is your pre-planning. So you can use that, or you can also use Descript, which is a fantastic tool. You don't just have to use it for podcasting. This is also for your YouTube show, anything that you record, to be quite honest. What's up, T-Star? Anything that you record, to be quite honest, you can use Descript to edit. So you can actually edit the words so that you can get some nice captions. It's really good. It is really, really good. What's going on, Karen? Let's see. Then, in terms of repurposing your content, I also want to encourage you to think of the steps within your workflow. So pulling quotes for Twitter. So that's the cool thing about Descript, is that you have the actual transcript of your podcast or your YouTube show, and you can actually pull quotes from there. And also make audiograms. So when you're thinking about your workflow, you're thinking about your steps, I would add pulling the quotes from Twitter and creating audiograms or even clips to it. I think that is smart to do it. Then the next step is creating show notes. And I put another repurposing suggestion here, which is using your show notes for Instagram carousels. Mhm. I think that's super smart. I think it's super smart. What are your thoughts on that? Put something in the comments if you know, of what you're thinking about in terms of steps. All right. Excellent, excellent. QB, the idea architect. Welcome, welcome. All right. Next up after that is review the podcast content. So now that you have, again, you've ran your podcast through Descript to get the transcript. You can put that on your pod page if you want to, or your podcast hosting platform. You've pulled quotes from Twitter, and then you've used show notes for IG carousels. Again, you can do that, or you can go and outsource this out. But again, you have all the steps in there, right? So that you, like clockwork, you can invite your virtual assistant, your executive assistant, your OBM. You can invite them and get them all set up into your project management tool like ClickUp, Asana, Airtable. All three of those are good, or Notion. I forgot about Notion. You can definitely set up your podcasting process through there, manage the steps in there, and then you know collaborate with your team members to get all this stuff arranged. Yeah, so my go-to choice for project management tools is obviously ClickUp, but second to that is Notion, and then third Asana, and then fourth Airtable. I have a lot of feelings about using Airtable as a project management tool, but I feel like for content, you could easily use it there. So, okay, so you've reviewed the content, and then you want to schedule the episode and content. So using your podcast platform, I'm now using Captivate.fm. I was using Simplecast, but now I'm using Captivate.fm. It has more tools for content creation, repurposing. It also just helps you to plan better. And so I can't wait to even just dive in more with that tool. And then scheduling the episode and the content piece. So schedule your content using Facebook Creator Studio, Twitter. Twitter has an automatic scheduling tool. Facebook does as well. LinkedIn does not. So something that I do with my content with inside of ClickUp is I just add that task to my daily operations list. And then I know when I open it up, it'll say post to LinkedIn. I'll know how to post to LinkedIn. So, boop. That's how that works. Okay, so we're gonna actually go into ClickUp, and so I can show you an example of how you can actually use that tool. Mm-mm-mm. All right, let me get into podcast guest management. So, I'm going to switch over to a different screen. TN in the building. Whoop, whoop. What up, squad? What up, squad? I am supernatural just joined. Where you been at? It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Great to have you on the live. All right. Cool. So this is a podcast workflow. So this is like my list of things that I do. And I have my pre-interview prep guests. You also should know this too, that I'm actually not fully satisfied with my podcast process at all. Like I'm just absolutely not. Like I'm not even pleased with. I'm pleased maybe with like half of it, but I'm not pleased with it totally. But this 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 is a point about the importance of just tapping in to what you have and keep working the process. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be a perfectionist, but there's just certain things that irk me about the process. But it is what it is. All right, cool. So one thing that I do is I have a pre-interview checklist. I'm actually going to merge probably two of these steps, but I wanted to make this super easy. I used to have this in 3 separate lists, but here is what I do to prep the guest. So I confirm that the guest has submitted their form. So I have an Airtable form that usually talks about the guest, and I usually create content around that using Canva, right? So I update the calendar invite with Riverside. See, I have to update this as well because, oh no, I am using Riverside. I was thinking about how I was switching platforms. I am still using Riverside for now. Then I research my guests, outline the format. So one thing that I do differently for my podcast, which I have right now, Conversations with Ask Ash, new season is available. We're going to talk about that at the end because I have to give the full spiel of it. So research guest, outline the format. I have already pre-selected my guests and have already sent out invitations by the time that we get to this, right? So we've researched the guest, which means that we've already sort of vetted them before, but we just go into more of their story. I prepare the questions and outline the format. And then I identify 3 takeaways for the audience, set up the Canva template, and then send prep emails for 2 days before. Now, I'm probably doing a couple of these things out of order, to be honest. I am researching and doing the outline together, and then also the 3 takeaways. So I should probably just merge the 2, and I can actually do that right now. I'm going to put this here and put this right here. All right. So that's exactly what I want to do. No, I don't want to do, wait a minute. We done nested the task within the task. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So y'all saw that, right? Okay, cool. So we've outlined the steps in here, right? And then setting up the Canva template, I honestly should do post because I'm not doing that right now. I've switched that to doing at the end of my process, but I definitely do send prep email 2 days before. I definitely do that. And my prep email usually is me sending a personal email outlining like, hey, here's when we're meeting again. Here's what we're asking. Here's the focus. Here is some topics that I'm going to be asking you so that people are prepared. But I never want people to be super or over prepared because I initially thought my podcast was going to be very, very strict and like very, very rigid, but it's not. It's really not. So one thing that we talked about on Monday with Jonathan Jones is the importance of it, like process improvement and making the right iterations. Like, don't get caught up with, oh, I should have done this. Oh, I should have done that. Immerse yourself into the culture of podcasting. I have Jonathan Jones's ebook. I got my other accountability group. Like we're even trading off tips on podcasting because a few of us have podcasts. So immerse yourself in the culture. The Black Podcasters Association, I'm about to join that group. They're super dope. So immerse yourself in that world so that you can become familiar with the process. And then when you bring people on, then you can be able to speak intelligently to what it is that you want people to do and say. I'm not saying that you got to be like an expert because that's why you bring people in, but for sure know your process, outline it, and then when you're at the point of switching over tasks to somebody else, it's going to be easy. I'm going to move this task. Yeah. To post interview. Yeah, I'm going to move that to post interview. Okay, cool. So, yeah, so this is the post interview. Mic check. This is the day of prep. And if you're noticing this, I'm actually using statuses, like the pre-interview, the day of, and then post-interview. That's how I'm doing my statuses, by the way. Mic check, review the purpose and goals before you go live. Post-interview, chat, record, download audio, upload, send to audio editor, write show notes, upload. And I got to change this to Captivate because I just switched to Captivate. Captivate.fm. I don't think I need that. I'm just editing on the fly, y'all. And I'm going to delete this too. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go and update this template. So now I have saved this and edited this template on the fly. Cool. So again, this is another type of workflow, right? You are the pre-interview prep. I got the day of interview, and then I got the post tasks. So there's a workflow that I have set up that's working well for me when I am interviewing guests. And when I'm doing solo, that is another story. And I have to look. Do I even have something like that? I'm not sure if I do. That's probably something to add to the list. Okay. That's all I got to say. And then I have my Google Drive right here, podcast guest, right here. I think this is what this is. So, all right, y'all. What are your thoughts on this, on workflows? Do we understand the importance of workflows? I mean, this is, again, it's so important that we are capturing this process and we are writing it down and making sure that, writing it down and making sure that we understand like what it is that we're doing and then why we're doing it. It just makes it so much more easier to outline this stuff out. So that's why you got to start off with, again, whimsical and outlining the process, and then boom, setting up within ClickUp. So if you're also watching out there, I do have a ClickUp VIP day where we could set something like this up, where I could set up your content creation or your podcasting workflow up for you all in a day. So definitely, what you'll want to do is for you to get plugged in to my VIP day, you can for sure go to ashleySchuler.com/VIP day. I'm gonna put this right in here so you guys can see it. Boop. And you guys can see that. I'm also gonna create a banner so that y'all can see it. So that is the VIP day where you guys can learn more about the ClickUp VIP day and how I can help streamline your process. That's what's going to be super, super important. All right, y'all. We are done. Next week, we have Systems Lab Live. I will reveal the theme. Maybe Friday or Saturday for next week's theme. It's been Content Operations Month. So what I would do is I would go back to the Monday live stream on May 2nd and May 4th, where we talk about content operations and workflows. Then catch up this week on podcasting workflows. And then next week, we are going to talk more. I'm going to get a subject at hand, and then I'll let you guys know what it is. But this has been great. This has been fantastic. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Systems Lab Live. Make sure that you go and you definitely share this with some friends. Shout out to Francisi Financial, Chesco, and for Mark overall for joining in, and for the folks joining in on YouTube. I appreciate it. I'm out, and I'll see you next week.